sometimes
Pushing through pain.
Yeah, exactly. And, sometimes take it from someone who has had a fair amount of injuries. Pushing through pain isn't always it seems cool if you're like one of those diehard kind of guys, but it's probably not the best thing for you. And by probably, I mean it's not. Just because, if you're really passionate about fitness, or not even, with CrossFit, but let's say like your kids.
Hey guys, welcome to the Boom Show. We changed it up a little bit today, and instead of Olivia hosting it, this is Jeff, your lovely director of programming, changing it up and going to take the lead today on a nice little topic we have called injury and injury prevention in the CrossFit world. With us today, we have Kris from Sunbury.
Hello.
Hey, Kris, how you doing today, brother?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. I guess thanks for having me also on, Olivia. Anyways, so I guess before we kind of get into the topic, let's talk about our backgrounds and why she kind of chose us for this topic versus one of the other coaches. Did you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I went to school for pre-health services biology. So I went with the intention of doing some sort of grad school after and go into the healthcare field, profession, somewhere around there. I started to get into CrossFit around my sophomore year of college, really learned that I loved movement and anatomy, and I followed that through not only in class, like through schooling, but also outside of school. So with CrossFit, I just, everything and anything I could find on learning how the body moves, how it's supposed to move, all that kind of stuff. And then that passion led me into looking for an internship. I got an internship at a physical therapy clinic. I was there for about 2 semesters, and then I ended up working with them for, I would say, a total about a year and some change.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then graduated school, followed my passion a little bit more, got my L1, and then ended up here at Burg CrossFit.
Awesome. I guess a little bit about myself, guys. I am a licensed physical therapy assistant. I am currently not practicing, though I'm keeping my license up just in case of a rainy day. I've worked in rehab facilities, I've worked in skilled nursing facilities, and I've worked in outpatient facilities. For that, I've also worked at a chiropractic office. A lot of you guys might know it as RX Chiro, or I guess that's what it's known as. Our lovely Jake Lowe and Dr. Lance Robin, or Dr. Jake Lowe and Dr. Lance Robbins, both worked there, and I got to work underneath their wings for a little bit, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of our background. I've always had a love for kinesiology, or the movement of the body, in I guess a sense. But I guess before we actually get into the topics, after we've already talked about kind of our background, I just want to make a little quick disclaimer. First and foremost, neither of us are doctors by any which means. Okay, injuries and pain are very different feeling per person. Like how one perceives pain and how someone else perceives pain can be totally different. So you know your body better than we do. And so if you're feeling something that you're just like, hey, this just is not right, cool, you can ask for opinions from us or any of the other coaches, but in the end, a medical professional, a doctor, someone in that field is going to be the guy or girl that you want to go see. Okay, so just take anything we say with a grain of salt. If you are a doctor or a medical professional in any which means, and we say something and you're like, those dudes ain't right, let us know. Please let us know. We don't want to be giving out misinformation to anyone whatsoever. Cool?
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess let's just kind of, is it nip the bud? What's that phrase?
Nip it in the bud.
Nip it in the bud. CrossFit is, to the outside world, very renowned for injuries. Everyone's like, oh my God, CrossFit, my rotator cuffs are going to explode, and they do all that wiggling stuff on the pull-up bar, and I would love to do that, but my joints just aren't the same anymore. I guess kind of why do you think that is? Why do you think CrossFit
Yeah.
got that?
Yeah, I would definitely say CrossFit gets that kind of rep just because it's such an overwhelming kind of sport that you get into, and a lot of people start getting back into it after they leave a sport that they're really competitive in. And that competitive nature gets carried over into CrossFit, and then I think they just go too much too soon, right?
So ego kind of gets the best
Yeah,
of them?
yeah. Like let's say someone, I mean, this happens all the time. Someone played, let's say college football or high school football or something, and they still feel like they're the athlete that they once were, and it's been, 15 years, 20 years since they practice or been competitive or been that physical, and, you're thinking that you're capable of doing all these things, and I'm sure you are to an extent, but people just push too hard too soon, and then, their body isn't as limber, right? Yeah, exactly, as it once was. And then, CrossFit asks for a lot, especially like out of shoulders, I would say shoulders, and just like body awareness and body control, which, I mean, athletes, for most sports, you have to have some kind of athletic ability and body awareness and all that stuff. But I think CrossFit's a little bit different because it's more aggressive, I guess, or more intense, right? Really, really
High
intense.
intensity.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's in the definition of CrossFit. So I think it's just super, super intense, and people just aren't quite ready for it. They're not ready for that volume or that intensity, and it just takes time to get into it rather than just jumping. Like, you could drink the Kool-Aid, but drink the Kool-Aid slowly, I guess.
Yeah, totally. No, I totally agree with that. Ego has its place. That's why we always try and tell people, check your ego at the door. At least that's what we try and say over at Burg CrossFit for sure. But there's always those individuals, oh, I want to do RX because I want to do RX. I want to be able to click that button. Guys, please, 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 please. If someone tells you to strip weight off the bar or, hey, use PVC for the first couple of days, just get in the swing of things, do it. Right? There's a reason why we say it. It's for your own benefit, not just ours. Okay. So yeah, ego, definitely a big issue right there. You talked a little bit about it as well. Shoulders, a lot of demand on the shoulders. What do you mean by demand on the shoulders?
I would say, so when most people hear shoulders, I would assume that they think delts. So those round muscles.
What are deltoids?
Yeah, right. So they're the round muscles that you see on your superheroes in the front of your shoulder and on the outside of your shoulder. And there's even one in the back, but whatever. Anyway,
we
yeah,
don't
right,
talk about
right.
that one.
But for CrossFit demands a lot of strength from the shoulder muscles that are actually in your mid-back area. So in your scapula, right? All the muscles that attach to your scapula, and they demand a lot of conditioning from those muscles, and most people don't really know how to use them. And also in a society where we use a lot of technology and we're on our computers and we're on a desk all the time, we're living in this hunched over position where we start to get really, really tight. And then, mobility wise and just, I don't know, I guess, like I said, muscular conditioning, it's not there yet,
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, CrossFit, like most gymnastics movements or even like most overhead movements demand a lot from that, and it's really hard to get into really safe positions if those muscles aren't firing correctly, if they're not ready to take that kind of weight. So just not being able to get into those positions, then that kind of leads to, compensation, and that's going to be, it could be in your wrist, it could be in your elbow, it could be in your shoulder, all those kind of things.
Yeah. So he talked about it a little bit. Being in that hunched over position, your body is super smart, right? It's also super lazy is the easiest way to kind of explain it. If a muscle only ever stays in one position, it's like, oh, why do I need all this additional range of motion if I'm never going to use it? So it starts like locking down a little bit. So more mobile muscles or like joints start becoming a little more stable or a little more locked down when you stop using those. That's why, like, as a baby, you can kind of like mold babies into pretzels and they can do splits. And over time, as your muscles start developing, if you don't maintain that mobility, like being able to do a split or touching your hands behind your back, all those weird baby things. I guess a lot of people can probably do that, but I can't because I'm not that mobile. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so you end up kind of losing that mobility. And so if you lived in a hunched over position, you're on a keyboard all day, you drive all day, your shoulders are just touching each other basically, what ends up happening is your front muscles start tightening, and then now you no longer are able to open up, and all your back muscles become very weak. So all those back muscles that he was just talking about no longer are getting used. They're super weak. They're stretched out. All of a sudden, boom, they don't have any control. You start going to motions that don't want to open up, and then all of a sudden you start creating compensations or creating injuries.
Right.
And that's just the shoulder, guys. There's all those joints. People have knee issues. People have
Hips.
elbow, hips, toe, bottom of their foot, neck. I mean, don't get me wrong. Anything and everything can get injured, especially if you push it to places it does not want to go. Right?
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
would be the,
and I guess this kind of leads into the next part where it's like, how do you get into it, or how do you start getting those muscles to open up and get better, right?
Yeah.
So that one too, I think, like for example, going back to the shoulder, when we're sitting in that hunched over position, let's say, you've been working a desk job for a while, and you work in that position 8 hours a day, for years, right? That's so many hours of being in that position that your body gets used to it. So getting back into that full range of motion, trying to get into those good positions isn't going to happen in like a day or even a week. It's going to take a couple weeks. It might take a couple months or even a year or something. But, as long as you're improving and moving slowly in the right direction, I think that's something that people really should take into account, especially in their training, and not being frustrated with that and being okay with the process of slow and steady rather than, big steps and then get hurt and then start back at square one or something like that.
Oh, for sure. So before we kind of get into like how to modify and how to scale, let's kind of talk about what kind of pains you might feel, what we consider might be an injury, what might just be soreness, I guess, in a sense. And I guess a couple of the pains that I can just think of off the top of my head are dull and achy, electrical feeling, like radiating down the arm or down the leg. It kind of like shoots. There's
stabby
pinchy, like, someone's taking a knife to you. All of a sudden, like, you're trying to do a motion and your arm just goes limp, stuff like that. Those, yeah. And then there's also referring pain, where you feel a pain somewhere, but it's actually coming from somewhere else. Yeah, that's a tricky one that you definitely want to leave to the medical professionals, because you don't know where that one's really coming from. You're like, oh man, my toe is really hurting, and all of a sudden it's because you have like an SI problem, and it's SI is sacroiliac.
Yeah. It's by your butt.
Spider butt.
Back. Yeah.
So anyways, so stabby pains, those are bad. Right? That's the easiest thing to say. Like, if you feel like you do a movement and all of a sudden, like, you fall down to the ground, or your shoulder doesn't want to lift up, or you're like, oh God, that felt really bad, and it doesn't just go away, like maybe something weird just happened, who knows, that's bad. You would probably agree, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah. Electrical pain, right? That generally comes from something nerve-related. So that can be bad, not always. Sometimes what happens is a muscle gets super tight and it pushes on a nerve. So if the muscle releases, sometimes the nerve will let up, and all of a sudden now you no longer have any nerve pain, and that's good. Sometimes it goes straight to the spine, and that can be really, really bad. And sometimes you just have impingements or blockages that, I guess, if you want to elaborate a little bit on that one.
Right. So impingement. Let's say.
Or the electrical. Let's kind of stay with the electrical.
Yeah. So I would characterize that as like, if you remember those like those little gag gifts that you would give to your friends when you were in middle school or something, and they
Yeah.
pull on it, and then
Oh,
it would get your.
it would
That's
shock them.
yeah, exactly. Those like little gag things. That's the kind of pain that you would feel if you were moving a certain way. We would categorize that as nerve pain. Something common that happens a lot is sciatic nerve.
Yep.
So in your leg. So usually, what that happens is you're in the sitting position a lot. One of these muscles, piriformis, gets really tight, and then
What's the piriformis?
it's a muscle in your butt. It's a little
Ooh.
muscle. It's a very small muscle in your butt, and it gets really tight, and then it pinches on the nerve, your sciatic nerve. It goes all the way down your leg. So sometimes you get that pain that shoots from the top of your butt all the way down to your leg. That could be, nerve pain, but it's coming from muscle tightness, right? So, little steps that you could take to doing that is trying to, you could stretch that muscle, learn how to use it, activate it a little bit more. And then also it could be from muscles around that area that are supposed to be doing a similar job that aren't firing. So then that muscle is taking on too much responsibility, I guess,
Yeah.
for that action. And then it gets too tight from overuse.
Okay. Yeah. So and then there's dull achy.
Yeah, I don't really know how to describe dull achy. It's just
Oh, it's dull,
dull
and it's achy.
Yeah.
So soreness can come, or it can feel very dull and achy, right? And then there's also burning. I guess we didn't even go into like the burning sensation either.
Yeah.
Burning's not necessarily good. Sometimes people can feel burning. Like if you just did here's a perfect example. At a recent competition, we had done the C2 bike that I had never used before.
Ooh,
But you were going at such extreme rate that you come off of it and your butt felt like it was on fire. Now that's a totally different,
like lactic acid burning.
Yeah, exactly. So that's perfectly fine. That'll eventually do away. There's other burnings that don't go away. That becomes an issue. Also go see a medical professional for that. But general soreness, you might if you did squats a whole bunch or GHD sit-ups and all of a sudden the front of your leg, you just feel like something feels like a piece of rebar. It just feels super tight and it hurts to squat and stuff like that. But it's not coming specifically around a joint and it's not sharp and stabbing. There's a good chance that the muscle is just sore. Okay? And a muscle just being sore doesn't mean that you just forget about it and you keep going on with your day. Okay? Because if a muscle gets really sore and then you keep pushing it, then it can get into delayed onset muscle soreness, which is even more sore.
Yeah.
And then if you keep pushing through that, then you get into the bad stuff. Like if you guys have ever heard of rhabdomyolysis, we're not going to get into that right now, but it's not good. Let's just keep it at that. So yeah, you don't want to necessarily push through extreme soreness. Gentle soreness, mild soreness, that's one thing. But if it gets worse, to the point where you can't fully extend your elbow because of how sore your muscle is, that means you need to lay off that area as well.
Yeah, definitely. I would say a good general rule of thumb would be if you start warming up and you get your core body temperature. Let's say I squatted the day before and we're gonna do assault bike or something or rowing in a workout. I wake up in the morning, my legs are kind of sore. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this today. And then I start going through the warm-up. My core body temperature gets a little bit better, and then they kind of loosen up, and they feel like they're ready to go. I would say general rule of thumb, you're good to go. It's times like how Jeff said, if you can't fully extend that muscle or your elbow or getting into that full extension hurts, it's probably a good day to probably just dial back a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe hit a different muscle group.
Yeah, so those are kind of the general pains that you'll see or feel in your body. And like I said, everyone's pain tolerance is a little bit different. Just because you can handle a lot of pain does not mean that you should handle a lot of pain, right? If you're going through a squat and you're just like, damn, this really hurts. But, I'm not going to let Billy beat me in this workout. So I'm going to push through that and I'm going to win. And I'm not going to be able to walk tomorrow. But it's okay because I beat Billy.
100%. I can relate. So this is a personal story. So when I was I love squatting. Like, squatting is like one of my favorite things to do. I'm not like the best squatter. I don't move massive amounts of weight, but it's just one of those movements where I'm like, yeah, I love this. So
I do not.
right. So I was doing a squat cycle, and I'm kind of like just doing a lot of volume, right? And I'm going in the gym. I'm hitting this set, and I can kind of tell I'm like, this is getting kind of heavy. I don't know if it's really worth it. But then I kind of push through it anyway. And then, of course, it's always like on the last rep, I feel this like little pinchy kind of thing in my hip going on. And then, got the rep, whatever, re-racked. And I was like, I think that's it for today. I go home. Next day, I can't lift my leg up on my own. And I couldn't squat. I couldn't even do a bodyweight squat for, I don't know, probably like 2 months. And it's just because, I push it. I think I heard something in my labrum there. So it was not great. But anyway, sometimes.
Pushing through pain.
Pushing through. Yeah, exactly. And, sometimes take it from someone who has had a fair amount of injuries. Pushing through pain isn't always it seems cool if you're like one of those diehard kind of guys, but it's probably not the best thing for you. And by probably, I mean it's not. Just because, if you're really passionate about fitness, or not even, with CrossFit, but let's say you like being active, you like playing with your kids, being outside, all those things, one injury kind of puts you out for a while, right? CrossFit's meant to be kind of like I would say the path to living your life, right? So
yeah. Train inside to live outside.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Play outside. And, if you're getting hurt in the gym, and then you can't do any of that, it's not worth it. And unfortunately, most people don't really have that awareness or understanding until it's too late, until they get that injury. Yeah. So I guess that's my little insight, just because I've had a lot of little, like a knee and a hip and all these little things that happen a lot. So.
Yeah. So I guess kind of getting out of injuries, what they feel like, how they feel like, should you push? The answer is almost always no, unless you're trying to win like $1 million. Then that's kind of on you.
If you're going to win the games, maybe.
Yeah, maybe if I, pop my hamstring, I can kind of keep going if I want to win that like $500,000. Like, as long as the medical bills aren't as much, right?
If it makes or breaks your I guess, financial income for the year.
Let's just say we're not condoning injuries, guys. Yeah. Let's just go with that. CrossFit Games athletes are most likely not listening to this. Like, you know what? They're right. I should push through that pain.
Yeah.
Don't. Please just don't. So let's say you guys get an injury, right? It happens, especially in a competitive sport such as CrossFit, right? You're doing things at high intensity. You're doing it 4 times. You're trying to push through things. You're going through a lot of ranges of motion, You have that blasted squat snatch that, it'll let you know, of a injury that you had 14 years ago that you thought was not even an issue. You're like, oh yeah,
still feeling
it. Still there. Yeah. So, anyways, the best way to deal with injuries, and this is going to sound like a really loaded statement, is not to get them, okay? That is the best way to do it. It's called, preventative maintenance, guys. Preventative maintenance, okay? I'm gonna give some shout-outs right now. We have some lovely people in our location, literally in at least the OG, Sunbury location, okay? We have a yoga teacher. Okay, Nikki, she is also a coach, so she knows exactly what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. She's not just some random yoga instructor who has no idea what your background is, how you move, stuff of that nature, okay? Mobility and being able to get into positions of ranges of motion will help you prevent injuries that happen out on the field, okay? So yoga is a very good start. I know she's going to listen to this, and she's going to be like, hey, Jeff, when was the last time you were in the yoga class? And I'll be like, ooh, that's a very good point. I need to do my yoga. I suck at all of that, but, do as I say, not as I do kind of
Monkey
thing,
see,
right?
monkey do.
Right? No, it's monkey do. Don't listen to the other monkey. Okay. Yoga is a very good one. Now, a couple other people that we have in our lovely facility that, once again, sorry, Sunbury, we
Not
have
personal.
an in-house chiropractor, okay, and actually Love Health as well. I believe she's also a chiropractor. She might be a physical therapist. Don't quote me on that. Sorry, Abby. Both of those individuals, RX Chiro works directly with all of our athletes as well. If you have any, and don't think chiropractors as just spine, like, oh, something's wrong with my spine, I need to go get snap, crackle, popped, okay? A lot of injuries happen at the spine because of muscles outside of the spine, and I don't want to, like, rain on any other chiropractors, but a big plus to the chiropractors inside the CrossFit community is that they understand that a lot of times injuries happen because of muscle overactivation or underactivation. So instead of just popping your back and sending you on your way, they're actually working with the muscles around the injury, above, below, side to side, to help downregulate or upregulate, fancy terms, those muscles so that they get back in working order so the injury doesn't happen. Okay, that's kind of like the really dumbed down version of what a extremely like difficult practice is, right? There's also not deep tissue massage, but there's also a massage therapist, Morgan, crushing it, literally and figuratively. Those muscles, crushing those poor little muscles. Same general concept. You have super tight muscles. She kind of works out knots and adhesions so that the muscles can move fluidly, okay? So that the joint then can move fluidly, so then the muscle's not pulling on the joint in the wrong location, okay? Stuff like that. That's all in-house, okay? You don't just have to go see those people when you're injured, okay? You should be seeing those people before you get injured so you don't get injured. I guess is probably the easiest thing to explain.
We're trying to prevent injuries rather
Yes.
than put a Band-Aid on them.
Yeah, but at the same time, we understand money is always a thing. Great thing, yoga is free. That's always super awesome, so don't use that excuse on us. I just don't have the time. Guess what, guys? You can probably either A, make it. Now, I'm not explaining that, that's your life. But they also have free yoga apps that you can download that cost nothing. That just takes a little bit of time out of your day, doing a little bit of yoga in the morning.
Yeah, a little bit of something is better than absolutely nothing.
Yes. And I will say this is something I get into a bad thing with, is you're better doing a little bit every day than a lot of bit one day out of the month. Okay, cool. You spent 4 hours doing yoga on a Sunday, and then you don't do yoga again for another month. Those changes aren't going to stay with you. Okay, they're going to come and then they're going to go just like that. A little bit every single day will get you in the right path, and then doing a little bit more every day will get you even more in that right path.
And it doesn't take a lot, like even, like 10, 15 minutes.
Like the cool down after class. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. People who try and forego that.
Shameless plug.
Not salty at all about that, not venting. Yeah, so cool. Preventative maintenance. We have a whole bunch of things in-house. We have that entire recovery room too. I know some of you guys have never even been in that recovery room. Again, sorry, this is just OG related. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse on this one. But every single gym has a foam roller, and I'll ask like, oh, guys, have you ever used this before? And I'll get like, no. Oh, yeah, I just roll around on my back on it. Okay.
You can do a lot with a foam roller.
Yes.
Whole lot.
Easiest thing that you can do with that is ask a coach, hey, what do I do with this? Or go on Google, this magical thing called YouTube, how to foam roll, different ways to foam roll, why you foam roll, stuff like that. I promise you it'll help you limber up a lot more than you expect. I know there's like now contraindicating studies out there like, oh, foam rolling actually just like improves your pain tolerance but doesn't actually improve your muscles at all. I don't know enough on that to argue yes or no. I'm just saying it works great for me. You guys should try it as well.
There we go.
Yeah, so even with preventative maintenance, sometimes shit does happen. Okay, you get injured, right? Damn, what do I do? Like, oh, maybe you're like a glorified RX athlete and you always want to RX, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do the workout if I can't RX. What should I do? Oh, I'm just going to do nothing at all. No. Okay, even if you're not an RX athlete and you're like, oh, I'm just so mad, I can't do air squats right now because something is really bothering me in the hip. Okay, so I'm just not going to go to CrossFit today. I'm just going to take it off for like the next 3 months or something like that. No. Right? I mean, obviously, we don't have control over your life like that, but doing nothing is not going to make something magically go away.
I mean, yeah, this brings up a couple things with CrossFit too, and it's, let's say your leg, like you hurt your leg or something in your lower extremity, and you can't do anything with you can't squat, There's so much in CrossFit that you could work on that you can still come to the gym and get a good workout in and get better and it not be related to your legs, right? I'm sure everyone could get a little bit better at their pull-ups or ring rows or dips or anything like that, and you could still train and practice.
Oh, but Kris, I don't want to overdo my shoulders.
Well, that's where you could you could talk to your coach about that, right? Be like, hey, I hit shoulders like twice, 3 times this week, can I do something else? Maybe I'll hit something a little less heavier and I'll do a little lighter and I'll work on speed or I'll work on things like that. That's something you could talk about with your coach or, as an athlete, as you get more experience, you can get a better idea of what you can do on your own.
So what you're saying is there's ways to modify movements to not have to use the injured area.
What? That sounds like.
Whoa.
That sounds like.
Oh, science. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Science, guys. #science. Yeah. So kind of, and even to kind of not dumb it down even more, but to, let's say maybe it's only one particular movement that hurts. Like, oh, squats hurt. Okay, have you tried a lunge? Oh, no, lunges don't hurt. Fantastic, right? A lot of times it depends on the stimulus of the workout. And so that's why you should always go and talk to a coach as to what they think would be best for you, as long as it doesn't hurt, okay? If they're like, hey, we're trying to do heavy squats today, and you're like, oh, I can't squat. Okay, well, we're trying to get heavy and we're trying to do legs. Can you do anything leg related? Well, I don't know. Can you lunge? That doesn't really feel good. Okay. Is it just breaking parallel that hurts the squat? Oh, yeah. It's once I get to this certain spot. Have you tried squatting, say, to a box? No, I haven't tried that. Let's try that out. How does this height feel? Oh, that feels pretty good. Okay, let's try and go a little bit lower. How does that feel? Well, that's not too bad. Okay, how about we go just a little bit lower? No. Okay, I'm starting to feel that pain again. All right, let's go back to that stage right before. You have no pain there, right? Nope, no pain whatsoever. Fantastic. We're still going to try and load weight, but I don't want you to experience that pain that you've been feeling whatsoever. If you do, that means you've gone too heavy or you're pushing past the limits that you should be going. Okay, so even if you have an injury at a location, you can either A, completely modify the movement like Kris was talking about, you like go to a totally different body part, or potentially just change how that body part is working.
Yeah.
Right?
You want to move in ranges of motion that are safe and pain-free.
Yes.
Right? If we start moving in pain, it could get worse, right? So we want to be moving in ranges of motion that we're comfortable with and safe, right? Because we don't like I said, we're if we're already hurt, we're not trying to get more hurt, and we want to keep you moving and everything. So generally, pain-free ranges of motion is the way to go. So yes, with a box squat, sometimes sometimes it's not a whole lot, but something. Like I said, something.
Movement's movement.
Yeah, something's better than nothing.
Yeah, and you can help strengthen the muscles around the area. Maybe it's an imbalance, and all of a sudden now we start doing another movement that actually starts making it feel better. Who knows? Yeah. So you can go so many different routes when it comes to injuries, okay? I guess we should probably wrap this up to some degree. We've been talking for now 34 minutes, guys. Sorry, I love
This is
to
way
rant.
longer than I thought this was going to go.
Obviously, Kris and I are really bad at staying on topic, or we just love going way too in depth. Too long, didn't listen. You want the quick little synopsis. Injuries happen. The best way to stop injuries is to never have injuries, which means preventative maintenance. Talk to a coach as how to kind of stay pain-free. If you do happen to get pain-free, once again, talk to a coach, and they can help modify the movement, scale the movement, adjust the movement, and most importantly, guys, don't let your ego get in the way. Okay,
Leave
please,
it at
please,
the
please.
door.
Oh, and also talk to a medical professional. Because that's not
Yes. Yeah.
Did you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Cool,
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Well, yeah, thanks for having us, Olivia, who's not even here right now. And she's probably going to be like, oh, yeah, we don't cut these. But yours is 35 minutes long, so we might cut this down. All right, guys, thank you for listening to The Boom Show. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Deuces.